The number one rule of building wealth is to spend less money than you earn. So whether you're trying to get out of debt, save up for a big purchase, or reach financial freedom like I am, I can pretty much guarantee that the 6 strategies I'm going to explain in this video will help you save thousands of dollars per year. And I know that because I use every single one of these strategies to save over 80% of my income every year, which is why I'm on track to retire before I turn 30 years old. And these 6 strategies form a memorable but ungoogleable acronym of WAP-DTF. And the first strategy is something you absolutely have to do. And it's why I tell everyone I work with, and everyone else for that matter, to track every penny they spend. Now, this is something that I've actually been doing since I was a little kid, so I don't even think that much about it anymore. By now, it's just a habit for me to take every receipt and record it in a spreadsheet of all of my expenses. And I have different columns for different big expense categories, so I can keep track of where I spend all of my money. But most people do not do this. And let me tell you a story about when I was reminded that this isn't so normal. So about a year ago, I was staying with a friend of mine, and in the evening, she asked me to pick out something for us to watch. So I asked her, well, what streaming services do you have? So I can look up what's on those different streaming services and pick something that looks interesting. And her response kind of made me laugh. Because instead of telling me which streaming services she had subscriptions to, she just kind of said, well, I don't know, I guess all of them? This was absolutely crazy to me, although it's probably pretty normal. But she didn't even know what subscription she had. She was being billed automatically for probably over $100 a month, and she didn't even know what she was paying for. So my hunch is that if you do track your expenses to every dollar that you spend, you'll realize that you're wasting money on something. That might be a subscription that you didn't realize you were subscribed to, or it might just be something that you buy pretty frequently and you don't realize just how much money you're spending on it. Either way, you're probably wasting money. And I cannot think of anything more embarrassing than actually literally wasting my money. And that's why I put a free budgeting template in the description that you can use to start tracking your expenses today. But no matter what, I would highly recommend that you go through all of your expenses for the last month or two and make sure that 1, you can explain every single expense on there, and 2, you actually need every expense and it's not being wasted. And then just actually take a second to calculate what you're actually spending on all of your expenses. Unless you're living super lean, there is probably at least 1 or 2 ways that you could start instantly saving more money just by eliminating waste. And eliminating waste is an easy win, because with this, you can save more money without losing anything. But if you want to save even more money, which I hope you do, then we need to go further. So to demonstrate this next strategy, let me tell you another story. When I started my career 3 years ago, and before I had even saved anything, a coworker messaged me and said, hey, we're going to a wine tasting this weekend, and we were wondering if you wanted to come. The ticket is $120. There are 2 things that you should really understand about me if you want to understand why this was so funny to me. First, I really don't like wine that much. And 2, I really like saving money. So I politely declined. But this was the first time that I really saw just how much money some adults spend. For these people, this was just a normal Saturday afternoon. But for me, anything over $100 is a huge expense. And I know that not everyone goes to wine tastings every weekend, so maybe that's a bit extreme. But I do know tons of people who go to movie theaters or pay $100 a month for cable TV. And I was looking through data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and the average American spends over $2,500 per year just on entertainment. But you can stay entertained for free. And that is why the second strategy to save money is on amusement. Most people could save so much money here just by replacing their expensive hobbies with cheaper ones. So I spend my weekends by going outside, watching free things on YouTube, reading, or working on this YouTube channel. That barely costs me anything. You do not have to spend a lot of money to stay busy. And if you use this next saving strategy, then not only will you save more money instantly, but you will also save more money every single month from here on out. And even better, it should only take about 15 minutes. Here's what I don't understand. I keep seeing ads from companies like Verizon and AT&T, which are the big phone plan carriers in the United States. And almost every single one of these ads advertises either one of 2 things. First is their unlimited data phone plans. And second is the coverage of the network. But here's the problem. Those two things aren't actually that important. I've been tracking this for a while now, and in most months, I don't even use a single gigabyte of data. And in terms of coverage, there are a ton of smaller carriers who use the exact same infrastructure as the bigger companies. And if you live near a big city, this probably isn't an issue anyways. So people are paying 3 to 4 times as much money as they actually need to. Stop overpaying for your phone plan. This could be easy savings. Now, this next strategy is not a conventional saving strategy, but it is really important. And to demonstrate why it's so important, let me show you my credit card. This is my credit card. And if I go online to see the terms and conditions, then you'll see that the interest rate for credit card debt is anywhere from 18.24% to 27.24%. So if you were in $10,000 of credit card debt, then that means you might have to pay $2,724 per year just to avoid going into even more debt. And if you didn't make any payments for 10 years, that $10,000 of debt would turn into $111,000 of debt. And this is why the next saving strategy to save more money instantly is to pay off your debt. If you are in debt right now, this should probably be your highest priority. And let me show you just how much money you could save by paying off your debt. So let's say you have $10,000 of credit card debt. And for nice round numbers, I'll assume that's at 25% interest rate. If you make a $250 monthly payment, then it will take over 7 years to get out of debt, and you'll end up paying over $11,000 just in interest. That's more than the original debt amount. So if all you do is increase that monthly payment by just $50, then you would get out of debt in less than 5 years. And here's what's really important. By paying off your debt faster, you would have saved over $4,000 in interest that you would have otherwise had to pay. And if you could manage to double your monthly payment to $500, then in that case, you would get out of debt in just about 2 years, and you would only have to pay about $3,000 in interest instead of $11,000. So this is why I always make sure that my full credit card balance is paid off automatically every single month. I never want to pay interest that I shouldn't have had to. And while credit cards are a good example, they're definitely not the only form of debt. Really, you should pay off any high interest debt. Because think about it this way. If you invest in the stock market, you can probably expect about 6 to 7% per year, although it varies a lot every single year. So if any debt has a higher interest rate than that, then it's an easy win. Because when you pay off debt, it's a guaranteed rate of return on your investment. Every single dollar that you use to pay off debt saves you interest that you otherwise would have had to pay on that debt. So paying off your debt is not going to make your bank balance increase, but it could save you thousands of dollars that you would have had to pay in the future. But you might be thinking, hey Charles, I've got to save money in the first place in order to pay off that debt. And that is a fair point. And this next saving strategy could really help. I personally use the saving strategy to save about $8,000 per year. The other day at lunch, I overheard a couple of my coworkers complaining about their commutes. And one of them went, I just hate having to come into the office when I have to pay $30 per day just in tolls. And the other coworker said, geez, only $30? It's $50 for me. And every day as I go to the gym, I see these toll signs. Paying $30 to $50 per day just for the luxury of being able to get to your office and work is super common where I live. And that's why transportation is the next way to start instantly saving money. And let me show you just how easy it is to save money here. If I asked you what the most expensive part of driving a car is, most people would probably say, well, cars are really expensive. And I agree, cars are really expensive. But that's not actually where most of the cost comes from. A couple of months ago, one of my friends moved from one state to another, and for some reason, her insurance company doubled her annual insurance from $700 per year to $1,400 per year. That's a huge expense. She ended up doing a little shopping and found another plan from another insurance company that was barely more expensive than the first. But the point is that there are a lot of other costs associated with having a vehicle that can add up to a lot of money. So the cost of buying a car in the first place is really important, but at least it's only a one-time expense. So in reality, most of the cost of owning a car actually comes from the gasoline, the maintenance, and the insurance. And that is also why it's so easy to start instantly saving money here. Gasoline, maintenance, and insurance all depend on how much you drive. If you drive less, then you'll obviously need less gas, but you'll also need less maintenance because you're putting less wear and tear on your vehicle. And you should also have to pay for less insurance since you're not on the road as much. So to save as much money as possible, I took this to the extreme end. I don't drive at all. I get everywhere that I need to go on my bike, or if I'm close enough, even just by walking. So the average person in the US spends over $8,000 per year just owning a car. But I spend just barely over $100 on Ubers and occasional bike maintenance. But you don't even have to be as extreme as me to save a ton of money here. One option is to just trade in your car for a cheaper one. This will instantly save you money. And second, take public transportation whenever you can. I can get almost everywhere that I want to go just by taking a bus, or occasionally the metro. And third, try to carpool whenever you can. This makes a lot of sense if you know that you have coworkers who have the same commute as you. And fourth, just try to combine trips and drive as little as frequently. If you actually plan out where you're going to drive, I bet you can find a lot of ways that you can spend less time on the road and put more money in your wallet. But I saved the best for last, because the next way to start saving more money instantly is also probably the easiest. I have this vivid memory of hanging out with one of my friends in college, and she was trying to make a budget for the next year. But as she was working on this, I could tell that she was confused by something. And when I asked her what was up, she said, "Well, I can't figure out where $6,000 has gone." And keep in mind that we were both in college, so $6,000 was a lot of money to us. Now I was sort of silently freaking out, because my biggest concern is that she had been hacked and hadn't even realized for 6 months as people were stealing her money. But, of course, that wasn't it. She started going through all of her credit card statements, and she realized that she had actually spent all of that money at restaurants and cafes without ever really keeping track of it. So this illustrates 2 points. For one, it re-emphasizes why I tell everyone to track their expenses. So if you haven't downloaded the budgeting spreadsheet in the description, then what are you doing? But second, it's just one example of how sneakily expensive food can be. The problem with food is that you buy it and consume it so frequently. It's not like buying a car or a plane ticket or a concert ticket where it's just one big expense at a time. So you might not even realize it, but the average person could probably easily save thousands of dollars per year on food. And that's because the average person like me spends over $8,000 per year on food. But last year, I spent just over $2,000 on food. And at the end of the day, there are really just 2 strategies that I use to save so much money. First, I basically never eat at restaurants. These are pretty insanely expensive compared to what I can make on my own, so the best way to save money is to start here. And the second strategy actually helps with this, because every single week, I take just about an hour or 2 and food prep every single meal that I'm going to eat for the rest of the week. That means that I'm never even tempted to order out or go to a restaurant because I already have a meal prepared. And plus, it means I can buy all of my groceries in bulk, which makes grocery shopping, 1, really easy, and 2, really cheap. So by eliminating waste, reducing your expenses on amusement, switching to a cheaper phone plan, paying off debt to reduce your interest payments, driving less to save money on transportation, and meal prepping to save money on food, I'm not even kidding when I say the average person, at least in the US, could probably save at least an extra $500 per month. And if you took those savings and invested them at a 7% return, that would turn into over $1.2 million after 40 years. And this is just the stuff that you can do today, like right now. So actually do it. At the end of the day, the only thing that will actually make you any wealthier is to actually do it. I can tell you what you need to do, but you need to be the one that actually does it. And trust me, I promise you can. But once you've started saving money, you are not done. Then you need to take those savings and use that money to build wealth even faster. And that's why you need to watch this video right here, where I explain how to invest your savings so that you can retire early.